wasn't playing football and they wasn't playing hockey or soccer for Diddy to come on stage, pat him on his ass, and then make the statement to people in the world that can't nobody call me Sean but Jay-Z. Now, I don't know what kind of statement, and I can't say, I wish I could say half a homo, but I know I can't say it, but I don't know what kind of half a homo that is, and you trying to say that you're not close to somebody. You coming on stage, patting them on their ass, and then you making a broad statement to the public, can't nobody call me Sean but Sean Carter. And I heard Jay-Z said the same thing about them, but they were so close that they had matching white girls together.
If you're anything like me, and you just finished watching 50 Cent's Diddy documentary on Netflix, something probably felt off right away. One name was completely missing, and not just missing, but erased. Jay-Z wasn't there at all. No photos, no mentions, no quick flashes, nothing. And that wasn't some small oversight. Here's where it gets interesting. Netflix allegedly cut an entire segment from episode 4, a section insiders were calling the Jay-Z tapes.
How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing to see what's right there.
Here we go. Here's a fun little fact. I actually have verifiable knowledge of all 15 of Mr. Carter's illegitimate children that he hides from the world.
50 Cent reportedly pushed hard to keep it in, arguing with producers behind the scenes because he wanted that footage included. At the very last moment, the segment was pulled completely. Now, I know what you're thinking. How would some YouTuber know what Netflix removed from a documentary? That's fair. But this didn't come out of nowhere. I've been tracking blind items connected to this documentary for months, long before it aired. I even talked about a serious clash where 50 Cent wanted more control over the final edit. People brushed it off back then and said it was made up. Then Gene Deal came out in recent interviews and confirmed the tension was real. So this isn't random speculation. And it gets even louder when you look at 50 Cent's own moves. Just days ago, he posted on Instagram saying he has the footage and added LOL. When 50 moves like that, it usually means he's sitting on something real and calculated. Netflix didn't say the footage didn't exist. They just chose not to show it. And here's the part that really stands out. Almost everyone else caught attention in that documentary. J-Lo was mentioned. Biggie's story was discussed. Cassie was front and center.
We finally gonna have a real conversation about whether or not Rihanna was trafficked to Def Jam.
She was an innocent baby when she came over here. And look
She's
at her now.
14 going on 15 years old, flown over without parental supervision in a private plane by a man who was supposed to be a producer who auditioned her at 3 a.m. in the fucking morning in a hotel room, auditioning at 3 a.m. in the morning, a 14-year-old girl.
With no parental consent.
Nobody. She was flown. She was flown to another country. She was taken to Def Jam headquarters. She was left in a conference room alone with Sean Carter for nearly 6 hours alone.
But Jay-Z was completely absent, like he was never part of the story at all. That wasn't an accident at all. That was damage control. When someone that powerful gets a clean pass while everyone around them is being exposed, it forces a real question about what is being protected and why. Silence at that level usually means something matters a lot more than people want to admit. Before we get into what was cut, there's something important you need to understand. And don't worry, I'm not about to drag this into old history or side stories.
Last question. I asked you to do this earlier, but I just want you to do it even more, go detailed. What do you predict will happen next in the future? You know, it's like you see it before it happens.
Kathy White's true killer is going to be unveiled, and it's not a man. And that woman died screaming.
Anything else?
Yeah, show him the tape, Diddy. You got it.
Oh, man,
That might buy you a little time. You should probably stop looking for plastic surgeons.
man.
Looking for a new life, Jay-Z too, Beyonce too, and we're gonna round up all the Cause see, I love a good gay man. I just can't stand him. And that's what it is.
Would that be?
You wanna know what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
I'm about to up a mirror.
I'm sticking strictly to what you clicked for. Jay-Z and Diddy were not just business partners who crossed paths at industry events. They were close, genuinely close, and not just in a music sense. This went deeper than collaborations or public appearances. That's where Gene Deal comes in. Diddy's former bodyguard has been speaking openly lately, and he directly challenged the claims made by Jay-Z's legal team. When Diddy started facing serious accusations, Jay-Z's lawyers put out a statement suggesting they were never really friends. Gene shut that down immediately and made it clear that narrative didn't match reality. Gene explained that these two weren't casually hanging out or playing sports together. So it raised eyebrows when Diddy went on stage in Atlanta and patted Jay-Z on his backside.
These cats was doing a whole lot of stuff that people in the industry won't speak on. And then now that you're speaking on it and it's becoming where is that you can get on YouTube and you could talk about this and say what you seen or say what you heard, you understand, or what you know. Some people look at it being a problem, but these cats ain't street cats.
He also reminded people that Diddy publicly said nobody could call him Sean except Jay-Z. That's not random behavior between distant associates. Jay-Z reportedly returned that same level of familiarity. Gene even mentioned how they joked about dating similar types of women, using language and inside references that only come from real comfort. That's not surface-level conversation. That kind of closeness usually means shared experiences and shared secrets, which helps explain why Jay-Z has stayed quiet and distant while everything else unfolds. And this is where things start lining up even more when you remember Jaguar Wright going on Piers Morgan Uncensored and speaking openly about both Jay-Z and Diddy. Suddenly, those comments don't feel so random anymore. That segment didn't just get cut, it vanished almost instantly, and that alone raised eyebrows. 1 minute it was circulating, the next it was gone, wiped clean, like it never aired at all. During that moment, Jaguar Wright was explaining why people in the industry stay quiet and why speaking up comes with real consequences. Then she started naming names. Shortly after that, the entire clip disappeared from public view. When someone has the reach to erase conversations from major platforms, it usually means something sensitive is being guarded very carefully. That brings us to what 50 Cent allegedly wanted included in episode 4 of the Netflix series.
It's a 50-foot bed under the moonlight in his backyard, and he'd be like, "I'm not going nowhere today. I'm staying in the bed all fucking day. I got to in the bed, chasing the bed."
According to multiple claims, the most controversial section focused on accusations surrounding Jay-Z and aspects of his private life that have never been publicly addressed. These were presented as allegations, not proven facts, and that distinction matters. Jaguar claims she had long-standing knowledge of situations involving children she says exist outside the public narrative. She framed this as information she believed was backed by agreements and legal settlements designed to keep personal matters private. These statements remain allegations and have not been confirmed by courts or public records. The argument was that 50 Cent wanted to show documents, contracts, and testimony from adults who claimed they were pressured into silence. Netflix reportedly declined to air that material due to legal risk and potential fallout. From a corporate standpoint, that decision makes sense. Still, the bigger question lingers. When stories like this surface and then immediately disappear, people naturally start wondering why. If everything is clean and straightforward, there's usually no need for aggressive silence. That's the part that keeps this conversation alive, even without the footage ever seeing the light of day. These were the questions 50 Cent wanted viewers thinking about, but Netflix made sure that moment never happened. And this next section is uncomfortable by design, because if even part of what was alleged is accurate, it raises serious ethical concerns. That's exactly why 50 reportedly had multiple sources prepared to speak on camera. Once again, none of it made the final cut. Here's what was said to be planned for episode 4, presented as allegations and disputed claims, not proven facts. Before anyone brushes this off, the timeline itself is what people point to, including details that Rihanna has spoken about publicly in interviews. At the time, she was living in Barbados and was 16 years old. A producer named Evan Rogers connected with her and said he wanted to help develop her career. Shortly after, she traveled to the United States on a private flight. According to public accounts, she arrived without her parents present and went straight to New York. She later auditioned for Jay-Z, not in a studio or office setting, but at a hotel during late-night hours. Critics point to that context as unusual, especially given her age at the time. Commentary from Jaguar Wright claims there were financial arrangements and paperwork decisions made behind the scenes. These statements are allegations and have not been established as fact. They are strongly denied by those involved. Rihanna has said in interviews that she remained at Def Jam headquarters late into the night and did not leave until the contract was signed. Supporters say this reflects intense industry pressure, while critics see it as an example of how young talent can be placed in vulnerable positions. This is why that segment reportedly never aired. Once these timelines are laid out, people start asking questions that networks may not want to host, even when the stories remain disputed. Let's go back to something Rihanna actually said herself in an older interview. She was asked what the biggest change was after moving to America, and her answer was simple but heavy. She talked about being away from her friends and family, about growing up surrounded by her mom and people she knew for 17 years, then suddenly moving to a massive city with no one around her. She said all her family and friends were still in Barbados, and that living in a big city around strangers was the hardest thing she had to deal with. That word matters, strangers. She described herself as a teenager, surrounded by people she didn't know. That raises real questions about who was responsible for protecting her during that transition, and why there were no familiar faces around her to advocate for her well-being. Now here's another detail that people point to as confusing. Right before Jay-Z officially signed Rihanna, he was heavily involved with developing another young artist, Tierra Mari, who was also 16 at the time. Tierra had been signed to Def Jam by L.A. Reid. She was young, talented, and receiving strong industry support. Then Rihanna entered the picture, and shortly after, Tierra Mari was dropped from the label. Her momentum stopped, while Rihanna's career took off rapidly. Some online discussions connect Tierra Mari to later legal claims as a Jane Doe in a lawsuit involving alleged misconduct during her teenage years. These claims are allegations and have not been ruled on publicly, but they add to the broader conversation people keep circling back to. When you line these stories up, critics say a pattern appears involving young artists, powerful executives, and careers shaped behind closed doors. There's also something fans have questioned for years. Rihanna and Beyoncé have never collaborated publicly. Same label history, same level of fame, yet no song and barely any shared appearances. Some believe industry politics explain it, while others connect it to long-running rumors that have never been confirmed. People also revisit Rihanna's 2016 album, Anti. The cover shows a childlike figure with a crown covering her eyes, often interpreted as symbolism about innocence, power, and not being allowed to see what's happening around you. Whether intentional or not, it's an image that continues to fuel discussion years later. Jaguar Wright has described this era as a quiet cry for help. She points to the symbolism behind Anti, explaining that the title itself means opposition, as if Rihanna was pushing back against everything she experienced but no one was really listening. According to that view, the world was too busy enjoying the music to notice the darker message underneath. This was all material that 50 Cent allegedly wanted included in Episode 4. He reportedly had interviews lined up with people who worked at Def Jam and documents meant to establish timelines. None of it aired. The explanation given was that it was too controversial, too risky, and legally sensitive. Another major section was supposed to focus on Aaliyah. Her story has long been surrounded by discomfort and unanswered questions. It's widely known that R. Kelly was involved with her when she was underage, and that situation only came to light after her parents intervened. What often goes unspoken, according to industry insiders, is that many people in music circles were aware of concerns surrounding him and chose to keep their distance. Dame Dash, who was Jay-Z's business partner at the time, has said publicly that he wanted no association with R. Kelly. Despite that, Jay-Z went on to create full collaborative albums with him. Not a feature or a one-off track, but complete projects, even as concerns about Kelly's behavior were widely discussed behind the scenes. Some claims suggest Jay-Z showed interest in Aaliyah during her teenage years, though there is no verified proof of this, and these claims remain allegations. What is publicly known is that Dame Dash later dated Aaliyah when she was an adult. That timeline has led people to question Jay-Z's closeness to R. Kelly during earlier years, and why that association never seemed to be an issue. Jaguar Wright has continued to make serious claims tied to this period. She says she was forced to sign strict non-disclosure agreements to remain silent about what she witnessed in the industry. She has also alleged that her personal life was tightly managed for appearances, including claims that financial arrangements were made to control public narratives. According to her, learning more about what happened to Aaliyah was the moment she decided she could no longer stay quiet. And these allegations have not been proven in court, but they are part of the broader context that 50 Cent reportedly wanted audiences to examine before the segment was removed. I'm not claiming to know exactly what Jaguar Wright means when she talks about what really happened to Aaliyah. What we do know is that Aaliyah died in a plane crash in 2001. And ever since then, there have been endless theories surrounding it. Some people believe it was a tragic accident. Others believe there was more to it. None of those theories have ever been proven. What is documented, though, is that Aaliyah was trying to distance herself from certain people in the industry. She was growing up, gaining control over her career, and no longer moving how others expected her to. She was making her own choices. Then suddenly she was gone. That shift in her life is what keeps people talking to this day. According to reports, 50 Cent wanted to explore these connections in episode 4, not to accuse anyone of homicide, because there is no evidence to support that, but to show patterns. The pattern being how young women in the industry were often controlled, silenced, and boxed in, and what seemed to happen when they tried to step outside those boundaries. Netflix reportedly shut that entire angle down due to legal exposure and pressure from powerful figures. Here's the part that should make anyone uncomfortable. There are people in entertainment who can sit on major television platforms, be interviewed by top journalists, and never face serious follow-up questions. And when someone finally does ask those questions, the footage has a habit of disappearing. That's exactly what people point to with Jaguar Wright's appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored. She named names including Jay-Z, Diddy, and Beyonce. She talked about trafficking allegations, industry silence, and a woman named Kathy White. The interview aired, clips started spreading, and then portions of it vanished from official platforms. Kathy White is a name many people don't recognize, and that's part of the point. She was allegedly involved with Jay-Z and was rumored to be pregnant. In 2011, she died, with the cause listed as a brain aneurysm. No wrongdoing was ever proven. Still, people question how quickly her story disappeared from public discussion. An aneurysm leaves no trail, no answers, and no accountability. And that's why her name keeps coming up in these conversations, even years later, despite there being no confirmed evidence beyond speculation and unanswered questions. Years later, there's no real way to investigate any of this, and that's exactly why people say it works as the perfect cover. Jaguar Wright has made explosive claims about Kathy White, and the implications are serious if her version is even partially accurate. The idea being pushed is that if Diddy allegedly had damaging information connected to someone close to Jay-Z, that would create leverage that never really disappears. In that scenario, Jay-Z could never fully distance himself, even when things started collapsing publicly around Diddy. That's the theory being discussed, not a proven fact. And according to those same claims, Kathy White wouldn't be the only name tied to unexplained situations. People online often point to a longer list of individuals connected to Jay-Z and Beyonce, whose careers stalled suddenly or whose stories ended quietly. One name that comes up often is Kimberly Thompson. She was Beyonce's drummer and later filed for a restraining order, making claims that shocked the public. Her allegations involved manipulation and psychological harm, claims that were never proven in court and were widely disputed. What stands out to many observers, though, is her background. She studied at Berklee College of Music and was personally selected by Terry Lyne Carrington to be part of Beyonce's all-female band. This wasn't someone without credentials or industry standing. After filing those legal claims, Kimberly Thompson reportedly struggled to find work in the industry. Supporters say she was blacklisted. Critics say her claims damaged her credibility. Either way, her career never recovered, and that fuels the conversation about how power operates behind the scenes. That same idea carries over to Orlando Brown. He's often dismissed publicly as unreliable. But some argue that writing him off completely avoids engaging with what he's actually saying. Orlando has spoken about industry parties linked to Diddy and described scenes that made people uncomfortable. He referenced late-night gatherings, powerful figures, and situations he claims he witnessed firsthand. These statements remain allegations and have not been substantiated. All of this, according to insiders, was meant to be part of episode 4. 50 Cent reportedly planned to connect the dots, showing how Jay-Z and Diddy moved in the same circles and shared more than just business ties. Netflix declined to air it, likely due to legal exposure and the sheer number of powerful people involved. And this is where Gene Deal comes back into the picture, because in a recent interview, he made a statement that pulls all of this into sharper focus, and you can hear it directly from him. Gene Deal explained that a lot of behavior in the entertainment industry was kept quiet for years because people didn't have platforms or protection. According to him, that's changed now. With spaces like YouTube, people can finally talk about what they saw and heard. He made a point to clarify something important. These aren't street figures living by any code. These are entertainers. He said many of them just play roles and hide behind image and money. The claim he made next is the part that scares people. When someone speaks up against Jay-Z, their career allegedly stalls or disappears altogether. People point to moments in the industry that feel off. One example often mentioned is when Killer Mike won multiple Grammys in one night. On paper, that should have been a career peak. Instead, his night ended with an arrest over what was described as a minor issue involving security. There is no public proof connecting Jay-Z to that incident, but industry whispers spread fast. Some claimed a call was made. Others said it was coincidence. What keeps it alive is the timing and how quickly the moment shifted from celebration to embarrassment. Killer Mike had also been vocal about industry issues, which made people connect dots, fairly or not. That brings the focus back to Netflix and episode 4. Why remove an entire segment that 50 Cent reportedly fought to keep in? From a corporate perspective, the answer many land on is risk. Jay-Z isn't just an artist. He's a powerful businessman with deep connections across entertainment, media, and politics. If executives believe the segment opened the door to legal action, injunctions, or pressure from multiple powerful parties, cutting it would be the safest move. Airing disputed claims about someone with that level of influence could trigger lawsuits and behind-the-scenes consequences that no streaming platform wants to deal with. That's why the Jay-Z tapes never made it to air, not because they didn't exist, but because the cost of showing them may have been too high. In the end, Netflix clearly decided it wasn't worth the risk. A safe documentary that tells only part of the story is easier to defend than a complete one that could drag them into years of legal battles. And everyone understands who that decision centers around. Jay-Z still carries enough influence that most companies would rather step back than challenge him directly. So now the conversation gets handed to you. Do you think Netflix was pressured by legal teams to remove that segment? Do you believe the allegations and timelines involving Rihanna, Aaliyah, and Kathy White? Or do you think all of this is speculation fueled by grudges and old industry beefs? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let your voice be heard. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who should be part of this discussion. I'll see you in the next one.